Now, I'm like, oh snap, I gotta go back to the bank, and my account probably is restricted, because I knew how I was looking funny on the app side when I downloaded the bank app. And I knew I wasn't getting my statements, and I knew my business address had changed, and I didn't know. And if I didn't know, the bank didn't know because I didn't let them know. So it was like I knew I couldn't get mad at the bank. I knew when I went in the bank, they were going to be like, well, ma'am, your business address isn't working. So I go to the bank with my little binder in hand. And I'm like, not to mention, soon as I get there, here come Mr. Manager Gatekeeper at the door, meeting me at the door again. I'm like, oh, Lord, I got to deal with this guy again. Now let's recap. I'm going to give you a quick little story time of something that recently happened. So, this was about a week ago, okay? It's cold outside. It's a weekend, Saturday morning, chilly, frosty, and I had decided that I was going to call the bank. What had happened was I had stopped getting the every monthly statement that I would get from the bank. I had stopped getting the statements, and I'm like, where's the statements for this bank? But something said, no, don't call the bank. You need to check your end first to make sure your stuff is right before you go complaining. I did just that. To myself, okay, if I'm not getting my bank statements and I can't get into my account, something's going on with my business address. So I called Incfile. Incfile is a company a reputable company that you can use to organize and to structure and to get you your LLC. But when I called them, I noticed from the jump that the voice system sounded completely different. And I'm like, why does Incfile sound different? And they kept mentioning some other company. And I'm like, hold on, they done merged? When I got a representative on the phone, I told her my concerns. I said, listen, I'm not getting my bank statements from my bank. It looks like my account might be restricted or something. And I just want to make sure everything is okay with my business address. And she was like, well, we've had to change quite a few things since we merged. I'm like, oh, so you did merge. And she was like, yes, ma'am, we merged. We're now affiliated with Busy as well. So I'm just like, So then they were like, okay, when we merged, basically there were some things that we had to change around. And some of those things included business addresses. But I can guarantee you, we emailed you to notify you when that change was made. So now I'm hot, right? Like I'm upset. Of course, when I get off the phone, I'm like digging in my email, trying to find this email, right? Like, where's this email? And the thing is, you got to understand, as my business began to grow and I started getting paid from YouTube and I got my first contract, I wanted my business to be as professional as possible. So I switched from a Gmail email address to an official email address. So that way my business could be looking as professional as possible. But the problem is, either I didn't contact Incfile and tell them of my new business address, or maybe the Gmail was still the primary because that was the initial email that I had set my Incfile up with. I'm not sure. I'm pretty sure I called them and told them that I had a new email, but I think it may not have been set as the default because sure enough, it was clearly not in my new email, but I did find it in my business Gmail email. So, of course, I pull up the email. Sure enough, it's there on the official letterhead and everything. The official letter saying, what happened, what my old address was, what my new address was, what the date was going to be, why it was changed because of the merger, and on and on and on. So, I'm upset, but I'm not just upset at Incfile and Busy. I'm now upset at me too, because that's my responsibility. It's my responsibility, and I miss that email. A lot of times my email gets flooded with a lot of brand deals. I have never taken a brand deal before. I probably really need to start. Your girl probably need to start. But again, I had my focus on other things. My main focus in 2023 was getting a contract. I wanted to go and teach acting classes or direct plays in the summertime, and I wanted to get paid for that. My YouTube wasn't in the forefront. So the content creation and the brand deals, that just was not in the forefront of my mind. But I lost the email about the address change in between the brand deal offers. So I'm like, oh snap, I gotta go back to the bank, and my account probably is restricted, because I knew how I was looking funny on the app side when I downloaded the bank app. And I knew I wasn't getting my statements, and I knew my business address had changed, and I didn't know. And if I didn't know, the bank didn't know, because I didn't let them know. So it was like, I knew I couldn't get mad at the bank. I knew when I went in the bank, they were going to be like, well, ma'am, your business address isn't working. Like I knew they were going to be like, shame on me attitude, So it's like, I was just happy that I was smart enough to think about like, okay, something could be wrong on my end. Maybe this isn't the bank's fault. So I go to the bank with my little binder in hand, and I'm like, hi, I'm pretty sure there's something wrong with my business banking account. And they go, what's your EIN number? That's like the social for your business. And I'm like, oh, not to mention, as soon as I get there, here come Mr. Manager Gatekeeper at the door, meeting me at the door again. I'm like, oh, Lord, I got to deal with this guy again. But, now it's not as much tension because they know I'm legit. Now it's more like we're just trying to build trust, They're just trying to build trust. That's what we're working on, at this point. So I come in and I'm like, now mind you, I know something could be, I know it's my fault, so they're looking it up. Oh, well, it looks like there's a problem with your business address. The letters and statements we keep sending keeps getting returned to sender. And I was like, yeah, I know. And she was like, well, do you have a new business address? And I said, what happened? And I told her about the merger. And I told her that, I reached out to them and they did let me know. And then she was like, well, do you have that in writing? And I'm like, oh, here we go. So I was like, well, you can see it on my website, because one of the first places I changed it was on my website, right? Because I was like, if anybody want to look me up and have proof that I exist, when it's on my website, I definitely want them to scroll down to the bottom and see that, my new business address or whatever. So I was like, well, it's on my new website. She was like, oh, that's always good, but we need something in writing. And I'm just like, Now, mind you, I know how they roll at this bank, okay? I know how many hoops they had me jump through the first time. So if you think I came in there without something in writing, oh, I sure did. I was just trying to take the easy way out by saying, it's on my website, like to prove that, why would I put on my website an address that's not legit or whatever? But knowing that they probably will still ask me for the paperwork. So I was just like, okay, here you go, but I could tell you, I was definitely trying to get out of that. I was like, I don't want to go through all these hoops, hopefully they'll just believe me and I could tell them the new address. But yeah, they definitely wanted something in writing. And fortunately, I did have a letter from Incfile and Busy on the company letterhead that said, the nature of the change and the new address. So they took it. My account was reinstated. My money was still in there. So we were all Gucci, but yeah. Now that was close, because I almost played myself at the bank.